bake so many cakes, over 1,000 in a week on order.
Wow.
Yeah, many times our demand is greater than what we can supply. I would walk into school parking lots early in the morning, 6 a.m., and wait for parents dropping their children. Yes, and I hand out flyers. On this particular day when I tried it out the first time, I got 6 orders from that parking. Yes, today I think even if I was offered 100 million, I wouldn't. No. I was nominated to receive a medal from His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda.
No way.
Apparently for your services to the nation, for what? For uplifting other women.
You're even blushing.
Yes, I am. Well, being Kyankwanzi. So I was telling my mom, when you are joking, I tell her, my other name is Narogwa.
You mentioned that at the beginning, you sold cake to the current Katikiro of Uganda.
Yes. By then he was in the Katikiro.
Yes.
That's why he was dropping his children in a surf.
Himself. No escort.
So we should all trust the process. Everyone who's up there was once. I never got maternity leave, by the way. Never in my life. I don't know what it's like. To be off work for 3 months? No. I would only be off work for 2 days. The day the contractions come, usually I would give birth the same day, then I leave hospital the next day, and I'm back in my bakery. As long as the child is not crying, you're baking. And I'm not dead. You know, people have to realize he was right. I can attest to it. Mr. Gasta Lule was right. And his parting words, I still remember them. He told me that, my daughter, I want you to know that when you don't pay taxes, you will not grow. This government has really tried to be nice to women. Really, I should commend them. When they sat down and looked at the procurement statistics in government, they realized that women were only supplying 1% of government business. Yes. So now their intention on pushing that number up to 15%. So they're reaching out to us.
Yes.
Really, things are almost on a silver platter as long as...
What would you say has been your most unique order that you've received?
Wow, that's easy to answer. The most challenging order that we've had to make was the wedding cake of His Royal Highness, the Kyabazinga of Busoga. Yeah, one, the fact that we were chosen was a shock. It was a surprise, it was a big surprise. I didn't do anything to get that order.
You just received a phone call?
Yes, we were chosen. Bake for Me was chosen to make that cake. Now that in itself was a win.
Yes.
You know? I was informed a year to the event. I'll be honest, I didn't really believe it. A bit of me felt that.
Thank you for coming on the show, Brenda. You come very highly recommended. I'm actually quite eager to hear your story. For our viewers who do not know you, who are seeing you for the first time, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Thank you, Herbert. My name is Brenda Sekabembe Mulema. I'm married to Robert Mulema, mother of 3. I am a businesswoman. I'll do anything as long as it is legal. As long as it is legal, I will do almost anything. So I am work in progress. I currently run Bake For Me Limited and Bake For Me School, among other businesses. But those are my major, businesses. Bake For Me is a bakehouse that has been in existence for the last 20 years and counting.
Wow.
It started as a side hustle. But before I go into that story, it's a thriving business employing over 82 people on a full-time basis.
Wow.
And from Bake For Me, we were able to start the school as well as a result of demand. Yeah, from There are many of our clients who are wondering whether we would teach them how to bake. So we felt that it was a good problem with a ready market, we went ahead and started teaching. So that, in fact, has attracted funding from the GROW project. We will be running an apprenticeship program starting next month. It's an honor and privilege to be seen and appreciated and trusted to run that kind of program, to impact more women especially. Yeah, because generally baking is a vocation for mainly women. There are men, yes, but if you look at the numbers, there are a lot more women that are, involved in baking. Yes.
The GROW project is funding the teaching.
Is going to fund
the teaching,
an apprenticeship program. Yes, we'll teach them, then let them work with us for a while. It's quite a number of people, probably 200 or so. So that we'll be doing that in phases. The first group comes, goes, second, and then we give them after-sales services, of course, hoping that we can help them get their businesses off the ground, of course, with support from the World Bank. Yeah.
So the GROW is from the World Bank support?
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
That's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes.
So let me go back a little bit to the teaching part. Currently, the people who are coming, these 200 plus, do they pay for that apprenticeship program?
Yes, the World Bank pays us to teach them.
Okay.
And also pays them to attend.
Okay.
Yes.
And to encourage them. So when you were doing it before the introduction of World Bank, you were not charging them?
We were charging. Okay. It is a profit-making, kind of business. We don't charge too much because it is our way to give back to a society, a nation, people who have supported us over the years. And with a growing population in Uganda, of course, you keep getting more and more cake eaters on a daily. We usually hit peaks in the year where we can't even serve our demand. Yes. Definitely November, December, Christmas time, sometimes Easter, sometimes even on ordinary weekends, we have more orders than we can produce. So we felt that, since more and more people are learning to appreciate cakes and celebrations, we can always teach our ladies how to bake. One, to lift them out of poverty, to make them more independent, to reduce the load on their husbands. Those are generally most problems that married ladies go through, especially stay-at-home moms. Yeah, you can do your baking comfortably, probably because that's how I started. I wasn't a mother then, fine. I was living with my parents, but I started as a home baker. So I know that it is possible. You can do it. Keep tabs on every other thing that's happening in your home, and at the same time, you're making money.
True.
Yeah.
I like the sound of this. I like it a lot, and I have a few questions.
Yes.
So let's go to the origin part. You mentioned that this started as a side hustle. Dig into that for us.
When I was growing up, I was from, I would say, a middle-income family. We were living in Kansanga, Chiwafu Estate. I think it was a government house at that point. My father was a civil servant, so they used to give them houses. So I went through school, but during the holidays, my mom would bake for home consumption once in a while. Like if we had a birthday, she would never buy cakes. We would bake them at home. We would bake the cake. We wouldn't decorate it, but she would simply sprinkle icing and would be so happy. It's a birthday cake, and we cut, we take photos. I have some of those. So would help her. It was 5 of us. So basically, she didn't even have a mixer. Would use a glass bowl and a wooden spoon. So, would be creaming the margarine and the sugar. When you get tired, you give to your other sibling. They do the same until the butter is ready. And she would add eggs and, flour, and then we would prepare the cake together, of course, excited, wait for it to bake. Licking the bowl was part of the process.
Yes, that's what I was thinking about.
It was a must. I mean,
a reward.
People would book the wooden spoon, then the bowl. Yeah, those are very lovely childhood memories.
Yes.
I like to share them because someone might not know the impact they can have on their children. Okay? So fast forward, I go to high school, then to university. At Gayaza, I really wanted to be a doctor. I mean, those days, every student wanted to be a doctor. I think partly because it was the hardest course. I mean, you had to do biology, physics, math. So that's what I chose the subjects with the aim of the goal of becoming a doctor. And by the time I was in my S6, maybe S5 that term, because that's when we would choose the courses we're going to do at uni, I was very sure I cannot be a doctor. When you get older, you can speak and be heard. Like I said, everyone at that point wanted to be a doctor. Even every parent wanted at least their child, one of their children, to be doctors. So I got to a point where I could say, look here, I don't think I have the heart to work with suffering people. I used to be very, very emotional. I talk about this in past tense because when you become a business owner / leader, sometimes the emotions have to fly out the window. Not all the time, but sometimes. So I used to be extremely emotional. So I'm like, no, I think I'll be crying every day, looking at bleeding people. So I had to be honest with myself. And luckily, my parents, accepted my decision. And the next best option at that point was food science and technology.
Okay.
So if you didn't become a doctor, or if you didn't qualify for medicine, then that was the next best option.
And I think it was still a new course, maybe?
It was a very new course, yes. That was about 1998. I think I joined Makerere in 1998. Yes, it was about 4 years or less, maybe. Yes, about 4 years old, really. The course had only been running for a short while. So I joined university. I study, I go through the drills. Now, if I could take you back a little, in my S4 vacation, my mom got me a job. I worked at a restaurant at the university. I think that restaurant was called the Senior Staff Club. It was somewhere between those who went to Makerere University, somewhere between the university swimming pool and Mitchell Hall.
Yes.
So it was serving lecturers. We're doing restaurant work generally, preparing food. I wasn't really cooking, but I learned how to prepare some of the food. I was waiting. I was a waitress of these lecturers. I enjoyed my job. I was happy to have it. I was earning 40,000 Uganda shillings. I would blow it within 2 days from when I got it. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but why am I speaking about this job? The restaurant owner would also make cakes once in a while, only when she had orders. She had a man there who would, bake and decorate the cakes. So I think it was during the graduation season of the university. I think he baked, there were open books, graduation, people usually choose those shapes that symbolize someone has graduated. So I still remember the shapes. There were open books, about 5 of them. And for the first time, I watched someone icing a cake. I took interest. Okay, the interest was simply watch. I didn't ask to learn, but I watched. I looked at what he was using, the ingredients he was using, and simply admired his skill, and that was it. So I study, then I finished my university, and that's it, I'm done with school. So in the first week, by nature, I am someone who likes to be independent. Yeah, it's naturally me. I am a choleric. I want to be in charge, in control of my environment. I am someone who would start feeling sick if my bank account got to a certain balance. I literally start feeling sick. So I work towards making sure I avoid certain scenarios because I know I don't like them. So even when I was done with school, I'm very thankful to my parents. They're the kind of parents who are like, you only get pocket money when you're in school. Now you're done. That's it. So the only money I was getting after uni was transport money. Whenever I said, I've seen this job advert in the papers. In fact, they would give me a ride to the city, to Kampala. And then they know that from Kampala back to our home then was in Bunga, I think, yes. The taxi park back to Bunga is 500 shillings. So that's exactly what they would give me. Nothing more, nothing less. That's it. So I would go drop a CV, walk to the taxi park, and go back home. There was no extra allowance. I really thank them for that.
Why?
Sometimes it's what we go through. I was never angry about it. I mean, that's what they could afford. And I was aware that that's what they could afford. Or maybe they could afford more, but that was it. I mean, you're going to drop a CV. What else? Should they be giving me money to loiter around town? Maybe not. So I saw the pressure. Of course, as at that age, you've been at uni where you had a bit of freedom to go wherever you wanted. You were getting an allowance and you could shop, do your hair. But now you have to explain every tiny little need for money. I couldn't take that. So my mind starts thinking, what do I do? Because I'm not getting the jobs yet. I took about a month to get a job. So I think I must have shared with one of my cousins. He lived with us for a while. I must have shared with him that, I keep coming to town to drop CVs and all. So I said, whenever you feel hungry, please pass by my office. Once it's lunchtime, we have very nice food and it's free of charge. He was working under the central bank. They were, I think, liquidating a bank at that point. So, I mean, all the food that people in central bank eat, even those who are in different sites get to enjoy the same. So on this particular day, I go to that building. It was called Greenland Towers. They were actually liquidating Greenland Bank. So I go in at lunchtime to have a nice meal. Really, that was it. And after the meal, we would sit with all his other colleagues and eat and laugh, and then they would go back to work and I would go
to your taxi.
To the taxi and back home. So after the meal, I still remember vividly, this is 20 years ago, he stood up, pulled out his wallet and said, by the way, my girlfriend asked me to bring her cake. Please go and bake that cake for me. So he knew that I knew how to bake, but beyond that, there was nothing. There was nothing to call home about it. So he gave me 10,000 shillings. I didn't question why 10,000. Is it enough? Remember, I was generally idle, apart from dropping CVs.
Yes.
So I happily picked the 10,000. I sloped down to Nakasero Market. By Nakasero Market, I think there was a Capital Shoppers, the only branch at that point. It was the first branch. I got in, I bought maybe flavor. I think I bought vanilla flavor, basically. Because it was a vanilla cake. What I made him first was a vanilla cake with lemon rinds. So basically, it makes it a lemon cake. So I go home. I used my mom's sugar. I used flour at home. We used to have it in the pantry. Of course, my dad was paying the bills. There was an oven at home. I baked that cake in a saucepan. I chose a saucepan that was about 12 inches diameter. And I baked the first cake. I don't think it was worth 10,000 shillings. It must have been more. But remember, I only bought flavor. So the next day, I hike a ride from my father on his way to work. I go to Greenland Towers and I deliver that cake. Now, because it was freshly baked, there's a way cake
The flavor
smells so nice.
Yes.
So he had 2 colleagues in his office. And they were like, wow, that smells really nice. So I'm like, yeah. It's 10,000 shillings. So both of them ordered cakes. But this time around, they did not give me any money.
Advance,
yes. So I go home with my 2 orders. I ask my father. I think this time I sat down to calculate maybe that I needed to buy now something. So I just came up with 25,000 shillings. My father lent it to me. I asked him for a loan of 25,000 shillings. And I baked the 2 cakes. The next day, ride again, I take the 2 cakes to Greenland Towers. I received 20,000 shillings. And I am okay with it. So I start moving to the other offices. This office space is partitioned and you have many other offices. So I'm asking, anyone wants cake? Now I'm moving with one of the cakes. I can bring you this at 10,000 shillings. And I got
door to door.
Maybe 3 more orders. So that is when Bake For Me, that is how Bake For Me started. So sometimes I feel it's not right to call it accidental. I'm a Christian, a firm believer in Jesus Christ. So when I look at the story, how my mom would teach us how to bake, how I ended up at this place where I watched a cake being iced. Of course, when I started baking, I was only baking plain cakes for 10,000 shillings. By default, he gave me the first prize.
Right.
I didn't even sit down to find out. I didn't have any financial literacy training. So maybe it wasn't really an accidental start. Because even in the Bible, in Romans, I forget the verse, but it says all things work together for those that love the Lord. So, you keep looking at a line. Yes, I would get off the course sometimes, but then somehow I come back until finally it becomes a clear, straight line of God has planted me to do this kind of work. And now it's even better because I get to impact others with this particular vocation. So that's how Bake For Me started. So from that one place, I started, whoever I found on the street and I knew, I would tell them. When I would enter a supermarket and I find someone looking at their cakes, I would tell them. I was really aggressive. I would tell them, you do not, I will get you a fresh cake. And they would buy from me. And some of them are still my customers and they remind me, oh, what a wonderful journey it's been.
You were poaching customers they have a buying decision already. Yes. They're in the supermarket looking at the cakes.
Yes.
And you tell them, don't buy that one.
I will get you.
And they will trust you.
Yes.
Wow.
And some didn't even know me.
Wow.
In fact, I was sent out of a supermarket at some point. People were not happy, but well.
You would frequent the same supermarket or try and...
whenever I landed on someone, whenever I entered the supermarket and I found someone looking at a cake, I'm like, don't. I'm going to get you a cake and you'll be happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really incredible, I have to say. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine walking up to someone and telling them, don't buy this cake, I'm a baker, yes. I'll be able to get you this.
Oh, yes.
And expecting that the person will believe me, will pay me out of the blue, and then I do it and give it blue.
That's the beauty of being young. And in fact, people should know, these younger people should know, there are things you should be doing at a certain age that you'll get away with.
Yes.
I can't do that now.
No.
I really can't. But at that point, it was okay. I would walk into school parking lots early in the morning, 6 a.m., and wait for parents dropping their children. Yes, and I hand out flyers. On this particular day when I tried it out the first time, I got 6 orders from that parking. Yes, I won't mention the school, right, but today you really can't do that. I'm not sure you can just go and hand out flyers without permission.
True.
But you know, that's why I'm saying at that age I was daring enough to do it and to get away with it.
True.
Yeah, it was okay. I think people were not really security conscious, you know. But today I don't think I can do that in that parking lot. Actually, it was Green Hill Academy. Mm. Yeah, I wasn't a parent. I just went to
street.
Look for business and I got it. In fact, even the current Katikkiro of Buganda gave me an order that day.
Wow.
I still remember I was driving a Surf.
I remember those guys.
Yes, Toyota Surf.
Yes.
He was dropping his children, Green Hill Academy, and he gave me a cake order.
Wow.
I think because he just couldn't believe that I could walk up to him and say, hey, please can you support me? And he did. Yeah.
Incredible.
So there are certain opportunities that shouldn't be lost, you know? Especially the time when you can do certain things. That's why I find it very easy. I am patient with younger people because we've all been down there. He's at that, at that level. Yeah. They are daring. They take risks,
That is really thinking out of the box.
Yes.
Parking lots.
Yes.
Parents. I think some of them were even saying, you know what, let's just try it and see if it works. After all, I mean, you're talking 10K. For them, I think 10K is nothing.
Yes.
They say, let's try and see, and then they're surprised, happily surprised by the quality, the fact that you are able to do it,
and deliver.
Then become repeat business.
Yes.
Oh, that is nice.
Yes, it is.
I'll come back to that point. Now, when you started the first order, second orders, the ones from the bank, and then these others, and you're coming home, you're using the oven at home, what are your parents saying at that time?
Good question. They didn't say much. Actually, I didn't stay long in this arrangement because I got a job finally. I got a job after maybe 2 weeks from that incident. I got a job. Now, this job was in a place called Nalokolongo. It was a meat processing plant. Not so big, but well. There were 2 jobs on offer. One to do sales, and that was paying 150,000 shillings. And then another to do quality control, which I'd studied.
Food science.
Yes. And that was paying 90,000 shillings. I was shocked, but I'm someone who doesn't remain in shock for so long. Again, that is, I think, my choleric nature. I am what next, you know? So the 150 shocked me, but I was more happy and ecstatic that I had got a job, finally. In fact, I really feel for graduates. I know what it's like. And it's worse when I think you're coming from a home where you need to put something on the table.
Yes.
I mean, people have been investing in you. It wasn't the case for me. Maybe that's why it was easy for me to get over the shock. I mean, I was living comfortably enough. My parents would give me a ride to town. Then I would get a taxi to Nalukolong. So I decided to do the marketing because it was giving more money.
More money.
No experience, nothing. I am back on that job. It didn't matter that I was getting 150,000. I hit my targets in a week. I kept hitting my targets. I would go and explain to clients. First of all, you're looking for new clients, okay? And you're convincing them to buy ham, bacon, sausages, you know, a wide range of meat products. So, to date, that has been the most important job in my journey. It has paid me the least, but it's the most important one. Why? It teaches you humility. You know, you come from the university with a second upper. I mean, that's really good by any standards. I attended one of the best schools in Uganda, Gasta High School, for 6 years. So in your brain, you're imagining that you're supposed to be up there. Then this job just clips your wings, literally, you know. So humility is something it's something that's good to have in you, because you don't want to be humbled by other scenarios in life. So because I've earned 150,000 and I didn't die, you know, I am proud to have it, you know, in my history.
Your experience.
But then what do I use that experience for? I know how difficult it is when you earn so little. And for that reason, even my house managers do not earn 150,000, you know? So some of these things, I believe God takes us through them for a reason, you know, to become a better person. And you can't do otherwise. Okay, experience is the best teacher, because that money was only enough for my transport. I wasn't getting a lunch allowance. So what did that mean? To get more than the 150, I needed to find another income stream or to strengthen my baking. So as I marketed the sausages, I marketed the cakes. As I moved through shops, I remember a particular shop in Wandegea, I made friends with this Indian man. I realized that the blue band he was selling, remember, as I was working, like I plan my day and I have to start from wherever. Then I'm like, the last clients I'll visit will be in Wandegea, because there's a supermarket from which I'm buying ingredients to bake my 1 or 2 cakes a week. And slowly, because I was quite aggressive, the order started increasing. Then this Indian tells me, oh, I've realized you're buying more. I want to teach you something. Whenever you buy something of bigger quantity, it will always be cheaper. And generally, that rule goes for land. When you're buying an acre, it's not the same as a plot. When you're buying an entire building, it's not the same as a condominium.
True.
You know? So he taught me that, and he said, from today, I want you to stop buying 250 grams of baking fat and instead buy a kilo. Okay? Stop buying smaller foil, get money and buy a bigger one because it turns out to be cheaper. So I started picking up small business lessons from the people I met. Eventually I left that job. I only did it for 6 months. And interestingly, from my struggle to convince people to buy these sausages, I got 3 job offers.
Those clients you were talking to saw how good you were at the job and said, come and work for us.
Yes. You see how humility can be a very good thing? Because had I said, these days I sit in interviews when I'm recruiting. I use an agency. It sieves and gives me about 10 candidates when I need maybe 2 or 3. So I listen to them. My first question to them will be usually, what are you doing now? I'm at home doing nothing. That is a turn-off. Secondly, someone will say, I got a job offer, but they're only giving me 100,000. So I left the job. That's a turn-off. Because I've done it before.
Yes.
I was earning so little.
Yes.
But I got 3 job offers from it. One of which was actually, I think, the one I took up was paying me 350,000.
Wow.
So a leap from 150 to 350 is a big one.
Yes.
And one you've also learned to manage, the one to live within the 150,000.
Yes.
That means sometimes you'll have to come from Nalukolongo, sit somewhere in town and wait for a free ride from one of your parents to take you back home.
Yes.
But you're learning to manage the scarcity, the resources to fit within that particular budget. And you need all these things when you're running a business. Because some days will be good and others will not be. Yeah, so I leave the job and I get a better one. This time it was a food science job proper.
A real one.
Yes, a food lab. It was run by Belgians, of course, better managed, professional. Now, with that one, what I loved most, one, it was very near my home. I only took one taxi of about maybe 200 or 300. In fact, in the morning still I'll be dropped by my parents because it's on the way, then they continue. And maybe in the evening, I take a taxi back home. So my expenditure was really low. At that job, yes, it was nice to do something in my field. We are testing food for export, fish to the European, to the EU, different countries in the European Union. We are testing all sorts of food. Yeah. In fact, at some point, I remember a gentleman, he's called Mr. Gasta Lule. He came by that lab with a sample of flour that he wanted us to test. So we give him the, its moisture content. I don't remember the other characteristics. So I remember marketing my cakes to Mr. Lule. Now I wasn't leaving any opportunity.
Space, yes. No stone unturned.
Remember now I don't have so much time to be on the street. Actually, I didn't have any time to be on the street. I would get into this workspace at 8 in the morning and leave in the evening. So I was only left with, and this was Monday to Saturday. Saturday was half day. So I was only left with Sunday to probably market to church members. So I had to take advantage of the people who were coming into the lab because I was receiving samples. And I would tell them, hello, yes, after we've done the proper official business, I'm like, by the way, I bake cakes. Would you like me to make you a cake? And they would order. So he was one of the people I met in that space. I'll talk about him later. But just to show that everyone you meet on your journey is important. You never know where that story would end, but be nice to them, be courteous. I'll talk about Mr. Lule later. So my customers were growing in number. I think I worked at this place for about 2 years. In there, I learned, I'm not being racist, but I want to commend some of these people for the way they do stuff or business. At this place, we had a clocking machine. Of course, eventually, as you keep working, you realize, oh, but by the way, this money, you're talking to your friends and some are earning 500,000. So you start thinking, I should find a way out of this place. And you can only do that by applying for other jobs.
True.
So on this day, you've come, you have your CV, it's supposed to be dropped somewhere in town. So you come, you work, you clock in. At lunchtime, we would clock out. Even as you're going to eat food upstairs, you have to clock out. And then when you come back from upstairs, you clock in so that it's clear how long you spent having your lunch. So you're free to walk out of the company premises, but you have to clock out generally. So you'd clock out with the intention of taking your CV to a place in town. There are no borders at that point. Then you'd stand at the road. I don't know what it was about lunch hour. The taxis just wouldn't come as fast. So a taxi shows up after maybe 10, 15 minutes. You look at your watch. Lunch is supposed to be from 1 to 2 sharp. You look at your watch and it's probably 20 minutes into lunch. And you're like, there's no way I'm going to sit in a taxi, reach town, walk to this place, get back into a taxi and make it back by 2. You just stand back and go back to work with your CV. So there is a way that some of these systems keep workers in check. Because at the end of the day, as he was paying you, he would look at the hours that you've spent at work. He would bring out your clock out card, clock in and check it. Should the hours go below what he expects, your salary will be cut. And for some reason, when someone chops your salary, you lose more than, I don't know what it's like. It's just not good math anyway. So you would keep yourself in check, yeah? And so many other good things, really. Being accountable, But it was really, I loved the system at that lab. Yeah. So I worked at that place for 2 years. The next job opportunity that I got was given to me by a relative. It was a USAID-funded program, political-based, moreover. Imagine building the capacity of political parties. Now here I am, a food scientist, who has got a proper food science job, paying me 350,000. But I get a job paying me 900,000. I can't think about. This is how crazy the job market is in Uganda. Even if you're doing what you studied, when something better shows up, irrespective of now it's catapulting you in a totally different
area,
you
will learn.
I decided, let me go. I'll figure it out.
Yes.
But that was a very good decision, again, because this food lab was in the outskirts of the city, and for this new job was right in the city center. My business had grown a bit. I think I had 1 or 2 employees at that point. So they would bake the cakes during the day. When I come home, I would ice them and I take them with me to work. And then I also employed a driver. I would drive my car to work, give it to him, and then he distributes maybe 5, 3.
You're running the actual business at this point.
Yes. I like sharing that particular experience because we have many people in the corporate world who are so scared of making that leap. It's like a leap of faith.
Yes.
But it becomes more comfortable to move from mainstream employment when you allow your business to grow while it's cushioned by the resources you're getting from this particular job. Yeah. Sometimes I've been at airports below, again when I was younger, and daring, where you'd wait for people at the check-in counter to beg them to help you carry some of your luggage. Because now you're importing stuff for the bakery. Yeah? And I would get amazed that this person who has a free ticket, accommodation paid by the company, can't think of carrying anything back home to sell. They just have their hand luggage, 8 kilos. And they have 46 kilos unused, and they're okay with it. That's what I'm saying. When people are in employment in the corporate world, learn to take advantage. I'm not talking about the CEOs, and, but you're earning 2 million shillings, and you have all these freebies at your disposal, a car with fuel, and you fail to do business. It is really sad to mention the list. So people have to wake up anyway. It's always easier when you have all these are they called entitlements? Mm-hmm. Okay. When your job can give you benefits, yes. Mm-hmm. If your job can give you all these benefits, take advantage of them. Mm-hmm. Because it's not very easy out here. Mm-hmm. It's not very easy lifting a business off the ground without help from another, source of income. It's not easy. So I keep encouraging young people out there. Yeah. Look at something. Ladies, we'll buy anything. Buy jewelry. These are very, very light earrings. Carry them in your luggage. Bring them and sell them. You lose nothing, but you're making money. Every tiny little coin matters. When you look at the compound effect, when you add, if from a trip to the US, apart from your personal shopping, you brought a little more to sell. If you manage to make $1,000 and another 1,000 next time, that's over almost 8 million shillings. It makes a very big difference. But people lose their jobs and then I don't know what to do. They come and visit me and I look at them. I'm like, what were you thinking all this time? I can't say that, of course, but you look at someone who's been working and now they are over 45 and they're wondering what next. Yeah? In fact, they're even lucky they've been informed that we'll be laying you off and we shall give you terminal benefits. Some of us have been fired before without
You walk in and you walked out.
Yes, without any prior warning. But someone comes to you and they're like, gosh, they've given me an option. Actually, there are no options. They are offering me this much to leave the job. I don't know what to do. It's such a lovely job. For me, I was fired with nothing. I don't even think I got the salary for that month. I don't remember. Yeah? So, people should learn to take advantage of opportunity while you have it.
Would you say that the work ethic, or would you say that generally Ugandans lack work ethic or the grit, tenacity, or they are lazy, not hardworking? Would you say this?
No, not really. I think this can happen to anyone, really. But maybe it's failure to realize that you might not have this opportunity forever, at this employment opportunity forever. That's one. Someone might have work ethic. In fact, probably it's the work ethic that might prevent some people from venturing into something else. But the thing is that this boss that you have today, when he's writing a termination letter for you, sometimes it's because maybe you're falling sick a lot and they just need someone who's young, or they will not remember that you gave it your all.
Of course.
I don't want people to get me wrong. You need to give any job your all. But after working hours, why don't you do something? That's why we keep encouraging people to learn a skill. Because something that you can do at home. And that's why I also mentioned at the beginning, the beauty with baking, for example, is that it is pleasant. It's very unlikely that your family members will be offended by the way cake smell. So if it's something that's not going to disturb the environment at all, why don't you do it? And even if it's not baking, have your small shop somewhere. Yes, you're managing it on the mobile phone, but after work, swing by. check on the sales, count your stock. Yes, you'll be cheated a bit, but it's better than nothing. But before you know it, this shop can start giving you more money. That's what happened to me. Anyway, you get to a point where your side hustle is giving you more money than this job that you're doing. Job. Yes. So I think generally there's nothing wrong with Ugandans. In fact, there are some things that are wrong with us. But anyway, that's a story for another day. But all these things are wrong with other people. Wherever you go, you find people who are lazy, But if you can snap out of that quickly enough and find a way of employing yourself, it's the best thing. First of all, you have 200% job security. Nothing beats that. Yes, you have freedom to do as you please. Though the way you use that freedom will determine how far you go in that business. But you have 200% freedom. I had all my children when I was self-employed. I didn't have to ask anyone for permission to go for immunization, maternity leave, to take them to. I never got maternity leave, by the way. Never in my life. I don't know what it's like to be off work for 3 months. No. I would only be off work for 2 days. The day the contractions come, usually I would give birth the same day, then I leave hospital the next day, and I'm back in my bakery. As long as the child is not crying, you're baking. And I'm not dead. People have to realize. People have to realize that what doesn't kill you, why that saying is so true, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I haven't died. My children are normal and healthy. I didn't have to take time off for 3 months. Never. I've never done it. I don't even know what it's like. But I religiously give it to my employees. Yes. I do. Because they are not me. They don't own the business. They can't feel for it the way I do.
True.
Though some have said, madam, that this is enough. Like 2 months are enough. I want to come back to work. I live near the bakery. I'll be going back to breastfeed.
Maybe they're even scared that they might lose their job.
Yes.
When they're away for too long. Yes. You might change your mind.
For most people, I believe, ladies, now these are some of the bottlenecks that we experience. When you're not at work, many times you make less money. What do I mean? There are times at the bakery, I'll speak about Bake For Me, when we make abnormal profits, unexpected profits, okay? And we get to share these hit people's accounts. There is no warning. Guys, we made this much money here. 200,000 for everyone.
You distribute the profits among the staff.
So when someone is not, of course not all the profits, but a percentage. Right. So when someone is not around, they will miss out on that opportunity. Yeah? There are times when someone has to work off-site, they're entitled to a per diem. So when you're not...
You do this?
Yes, wow. We do. So when someone is not at work, of course you're missing out on all these tiny little things that of course again compound to something quite, good. Yeah, so, but yeah, such is life.
I have to commend you actually and thank you on behalf of your staff as well and others who might be watching. Because I think your experience working in the companies you worked in exposed you to good business practices, how things are done, how employees should be treated, etc. So when I hear you talking about per diem, when I hear you talking about profit sharing or empowering your team or even training others, etc., I've spoken to many businesses and I've seen others as well. Not all of them do this. Actually, a very small percentage do this. They pay the salary, they give you health insurance, and that's it. But these are going over and above the normal, which I think to me speaks to your growth, speaks to your stability in the industry. And I think when you take a trip to go anywhere out of the country or whatever, you're very confident. I know it doesn't take more than 2 days, but when you do...
No, I these days I go away for 2 weeks. Yes.
And the machine is running well oiled because the person knows I'm not going to get this elsewhere,
Yes.
or what I'm getting is good. And so I really commend you for this. This is really nice. So don't stop, okay?
So working in the city center was really a very big advantage. It was easier to get my cakes to people. Yes, I had to employ a driver. So I'd drive to work, give him the car, and he would distribute the cakes and bring it back with the money. So it was lovely. I was earning my salary and earning from the cakes. It really became so nice. I got to a point where I was making 15 cakes on a Saturday. Yes. Yeah, I was happy. But I don't think some of my bosses were happy. And sadly, sometimes some people are not very happy when you seem to be thriving and progressing. Yes. Some bosses have a problem when you buy a car, and you tell them, oh, I am making cakes because you want them to be your clients. You mean well, but they take it, negatively. Some bosses want people to really be beneath them. But I also must say, I think at that point, being a young girl who had money, now I'm trying to imagine, probably my boss was my age then. I personally don't have a problem with someone making more money than I do, but I have a feeling I must have touched some
the wrong
not so good buttons. It's possible. Because remember, you're trying to balance two things. You're bound to make mistakes somewhere. Maybe you're writing a report and you have to repeat it, and then she might think that you're not concentrating on your job. It's possible. It's possible, really. In fact, it's the first time I'm really critically thinking about why I was fired. Maybe that was one of the reasons. I was not given a reason per se, but... So anyway, to cut a long story short, I lost the job. I was fired. At that point, I felt like life was ending. I really, really loved my job. I couldn't believe it. I asked my father to go and plead. Yeah. Things that today I would be very irritated if I fired someone and they asked their parents to come and plead. I really think someone should be able to, man up. Or I've had employees who are fired and are forgiven, but it's because they have walked to me and said, etc. But okay, the situation was complicated. It was a little beyond me, and you're trying to find every possible way of reversing the decision. So it was a dark part of my career life. I would walk around in town, face down, literally. Face down. I felt like it was written here, she's been fired. It was terrible. And in fact, I like to talk about it because we should understand when we have, say, family members who hit depression. Yeah, because I've been through it, I know that, that can happen. And in fact, my support system really came in very handy. It didn't get that bad for me, but I was sad. And this is the funniest thing. I was making money from the cakes.
That is the question I already have.
In fact, more money than the job.
Yes.
But this was the scenario then. When you went to school at that time, in the 90s, you were expected to be employed. Anything less than that is speaking failure. Is speaking real failure. You are failure. You don't have a job. You don't have a place where you go to be employed.
An address.
So I struggled so much to look for another job. And I got one, yes. It wasn't paying as well as the other. Of course, I remained sad-ish. But that was the biggest problem then. I think it's changing now. We have many people who walk out of uni and they're straight into self-employment, and that's okay. But at that time, it wasn't okay. In fact, at the time I was with a group of friends, we went out for dinner. In fact, I think I financed most of that dinner. It was a birthday for one of us. And then this person somewhere not my friend, they were mainly her friends. So this person was introducing us. And when she got to me, she said, "Oh, this is Brenda. She's not in mainstream employment." That was the way she introduced me. She couldn't even say, I think I made the cake for the function. And I paid a lot more. The dinner was at Fang Fang restaurant. Didn't even exist now, does it?
I don't think
yes, so, and that's the best she could do, introduce me as I am not in mainstream employment. And she was happy to introduce all the others, NSSF, National Drug Authority, but Brenda is not in mainstream employment. So there was this, it was actually like stigmatization in a way, that if you don't have an 8 to 5, you're not doing well. You're not worth introducing. So that's why, I kept feeling that I need to find another job. So, which I did. It wasn't as good as the other one, but I continued baking. And to me, baking was a side hustle, irrespective of how much money it was giving me.
The mindset was not changed.
No, it wasn't.
And I suspect, well, I already know, you said, the new job that you got was paying you less than the one you had before.
Yes.
But you were happy at this point
because
you had received the job.
Yes.
Now you will be introduced by that company.
Yes.
Despite the fact that even at that dinner, I suspect that maybe you're even making more than some of them.
All of them.
All
probably.
of them.
Yes.
Imagine.
All of them. I think so. Anyway. So fast forward, somewhere before I got fired, I started doing a master's, because you sit at a job and you realize, this is not very good. Your relationship with some of your seniors is not so good. And I was like, someone gave me advice to further my studies, like to go for a master's degree, to study some more. So I enrolled for an MBA at Makerere University. I was supposed to study in the evening. It was very, very difficult to bake at night, work during the day, and study in the evening. Really, it was really difficult. I barely lasted 2 months in that course, and I gave it up. I remember in the middle of it all, I get fired. You need fuel to drive to. Okay, I was making money, but I think you could just kind of lose. The firing comes with so many.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the attitude is also not
emotional,
so good.
Psychological.
Yes. I gave up the MBA. Anyway, much later, one of my very good friends said, "You know what? You should continue with the studying. Find a way. Try doing it outside Uganda." Of course, it was exciting. I'm going to get on a plane. I traveled before, probably twice only. So I'm like, it's always exciting when you're thinking about getting on a plane, go to another country, live there for a while. So I warmed up to it. I applied. Again, because of this firing, I'm like, let me study something that's going to make me more marketable. When I add it to the food science and technology, it will make me more marketable in the job market generally. So I chose to go for a master's in public health. I applied at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. I was successful. Yes, so I made arrangements to leave. I left that job, sold, I think, my car. I think I also sold half of it. I bought a plot during my good times. So I sold half of that land, got a chunk of money, and then went to study. I didn't ask my parents for a single coin for my master's, even if they probably would have helped me, but no, I didn't. Again, that's me.
The cleric.
Choleric, yes. So I go. Of course, going to South Africa was also a rude awakening in a way. I thought it would be like Uganda. When you're a student, you find that they've reserved space for you in a hall of residence. No, that didn't happen. In fact, the halls were full, so I had to start renting. I'd never rented in my life. I had to find a flat to rent. It was expensive. But well, I had money. It wasn't enough to cover the whole cost, but I'm like, I'll figure it out eventually. I started running an Airbnb in there. The second room, I would allow students. Some students would come for one module a week. So I would tell them, come live with me. It's cheaper than a hotel, and I cook for you. Yes, yeah. Yes, I would cook for them. Yeah, and it was very attractive. But I would come in lady students, not men. Yeah, it also becomes complicated when you have guys. Yes. So South Africa was a very, very, very wonderful experience. One, because I was able to go outside the borders of Uganda. Of course, I was very interested in their baking industry. Whenever I moved around in the malls, I would stop to admire the designs. I took up some courses in making sugarcraft molds and all. I took up a job which didn't pay me a single shilling because I didn't have a work permit. But over the weekend, I would go to this bakery to work. And my first day at this place was total shock. This bakery was churning out 400 cakes in a day. And these cakes were iced by one person. Right now at Bake For Me, I think we have about 20 people icing cakes. But this person was doing it alone, and it was a lady. 400. And I would ask, where are all these cakes going? Where do you get all these orders? Oh yeah, we have outlets. You see what God does? It's opening my mind. So people can have outlets. You can have outlets for your business to make sure your product is reaching point A, point Y, point Z. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So, and I keep telling parents, never undermine the power of exposure. When you can expose your child early, please do. Please do. Take them out there, let them see. Because it's exactly what they see that they will come back and implement back at home. Even if it's not at that particular point, when the time is right, it happens. I think I got to look at a beautiful display. We have the same at our Gaba Road, Bunga outlet. Beautiful display, but I saw it out there. Like, so this is what people do. They put up dummy cakes and just make a very beautiful space, and it attracts very many clients.
Yes.
You don't even have to say much. Yeah, so South Africa was a very good, wonderful experience. I actually got a job there in a project. It was so funny. All the resident students felt that the job was not paying enough.
It was beneath.
Yes, it was beneath them. I couldn't believe that I was earning so much money. So life is really funny. Life is so funny. It is, again, I'm thankful for humility because I make use of it at the right time. I did that job. I think I bought my second property, a house, from that money.
Wow.
Yeah. Because when I was leaving, it was quite a chunk of money. I put it all together and I was ready to buy my first house here in Uganda. Well, so I graduated. Again in South Africa, I was not at a standstill. I made over 13 trips back home in a space of 1.5 years. 13 years. To come and check on my business. Yeah, whenever we had a wedding cake order, I came back to personally supervise it, work on it, assemble it, man it, and the next day I was back on the plane to go back and study.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm glad that, of course, it was a huge sacrifice. The plane tickets aren't cheap. Being on the plane especially these night planes that land early morning, sometimes you fail to land because of the weather. It wasn't easy, but again, it's necessary. It kind of builds your resilience, when you have to go through hardship. Someone might wonder, how can you say getting on a plane is hard? Flying in the night, I mean, you have to remain awake. It's and then you're landing to start working. You don't even have time to take in the jet lag, and it's just no time. Yeah, but in a way, it builds your resilience, which is it's a very necessary trait in business. Because what lies ahead is worse than what you're experiencing now. Yeah. So once you've built that muscle, and you can be bent, like you're bending an iron band, the resilience will kind of make you sail through even bigger problems in future. Yeah, so when I finished, I came back. Again, I was going back. By the way, the bakery kept me going in South Africa. The money would come from Uganda. My mom was running it on my behalf, and she would send me money for all these tickets and everything. But I was still focused on the mainstream employment. So when I come back, I start applying for jobs. Again, God realized, no, I will not give her that job. The South African one was very nice, yes, but it ended, and I could have looked for more jobs, but I wanted to come back and settle. That as women, the clock keeps ticking.
Yes.
And never in my wildest dream did I ever think I can want to get married to a foreigner. So I'm like, no, to get a Ugandan, I have to go back home and be available in Uganda. So it's one of the reasons but I also checked out at the right time, because xenophobia. In fact, the day xenophobia started. No, actually it had started in other states, but when it was moving closer to Pretoria and Johannesburg, I think that's the day I left. My flight was on that day. So it was just in time. I felt I am someone who doesn't want to remain in another country when I'm not wanted there, really. And factors as, again, anything that borders on racism really pisses me off. So I'd rather work hard to make it work here at home, where no one will ever say, go away, true. So for me, it's much as it was a good experience, I learned what I had to learn, but I preferred it back here. So I did whatever it takes to make sure what I'm doing here works somehow. So I come back, I continue baking. I have employees now, probably we're about 10 by then, but I'm still looking for the jobs. I get a job. Now remember, I'm a public health specialist. So I get a job at Mulago Hospital. I wasn't under the public service. It was a project run by Canadian doctors, and we are looking at the causes of injuries in Uganda, so that they used to give funding to Ugandan hospitals, but they needed to understand, if we are funding an ICU, an ICU, we need to understand what should we concentrate on. What are the injuries that people are presenting with the most? At that point, I think borders were really increasing, so there were quite a number of border accidents. So I did a very interesting survey in different hospitals across the country. Of course, it was statistics. You had to analyze the data. But again, that job kept me away from my business. At that point, people would call asking me for a particular cake, a design, and I'm like, I can't do it, I'm not around. And I couldn't trust my employees to do it. So I stayed, and I was only earning 1 million shillings
At that job.
per month. And yet I was earning 3 million shillings
From the business.
profit. So after 6 months, really, I was in a minor accident, I remember. On one of those trips, we had a minor accident. So when I got back to the office, I asked, what if this had been a bad accident? What would have happened? Now with my exposure, you've been to countries where medical aid is a must. So here you are, you don't have medical aid. Fine, you're working in a hospital, but the hospital also has grades. There are people who are in the private wing, and then there are the general happiness who come for free treatment. So when I asked that question, what would happen if this accident had been really bad, I was told, oh, no, you come to the hospital for treatment. So I'm like, is it at the 6th floor, private, or is lower floor? The person said, the lower floors. That day I wrote my resignation. That was 2011.
That's the hospital where you're working?
Yes.
And doing this project?
Yes.
And telling you would come in the general wing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that day I wrote my resignation. So this time I really meant it. This time I didn't want any other job. I went back home and started working full-time in my business. That month, the first month, we registered triple profit.
Wow.
Simply because I was
you were
present.
There physically.
Yes. Triple. Our profit tripled. So I started the very serious journey of managing my business. So it's been quite an interesting journey. We've grown in number, we've grown in size, we've grown a brand, a strong, respectable brand. Sometimes I also stand in awe, and the question I keep asking, why did I take so long? But it had to happen that way for it to be this way.
Yes.
Such is life. There's a reason for the journey and the process and the experiences. So that when you say goodbye to employment, you have a very strong reason. Today, I think even if I was offered 100 million, I wouldn't. No. Because when like what I mentioned, the freedom, the joy of impacting people, of making decisions it's unmatched.
No one can fire you.
I no one can fire me.
And you walk with your head down like that.
No way. No one can fire me. I am my own boss every day. I can choose to stay in bed, which I don't, yes, but it's such a lovely, lovely journey of learning, unlearning, relearning, every good thing. And then you're meeting people from all walks of life.
True.
But the impact really is the winner for me. Yeah.
Congratulations again. I really have to say it.
Okay.
One thing that has so far stood out for me is how brave you are, how much of a risk taker you were.
It's a lot of risk.
And you don't really know what is round the corner, but you're just going to go.
Yes.
You're going to South Africa, you're using the funding from the business to take care of you. You're going in all these spaces, you're trying, you're marketing and selling, you're hustling.
Yes.
The true word is hustling.
Yes, it is.
And now you've grown the brand to where it is. It's really commendable. It's really commendable, and I really commend you for this. You mentioned that you wanted to talk about a gentleman that you marketed to, Gasta Lule.
Yes.
What's the story there?
The story with Mr. Lule. So as a business grows, again, back to that Indian man who told me, the Indian shopkeeper who told me, whenever you buy big, it gets cheaper. So as I was in South Africa, as a student, these 13 trips, I would come back loaded. Of course, they had very good ingredients, Whenever I would carry chocolate from there, I would come back loaded. We are some of the people who would sit in economy class with 4 baggages. You find someone to carry it onto the plane. I'm sorry to the airlines, but that's the life of a hustler. Yeah.
Wow.
You have like 4, maybe 3 pieces of hand luggage. It's because you have to find a way of moving that stuff back home, because you need it and it's very nice. So anyway, my journey in importation started when I was a student. Okay, so you start by bringing in stuff, then the demand for these things in your bakery is growing. The first time you brought 10 kilos, then they are used up, then you have to bring 15, then 30. So on one of these occasions, I go to the store where I was buying this stuff.
In South Africa?
In South Africa, yes. And I'm demanding 30 kilos. Remember, I started when I was taking 5. I need 30. I'm leaving tomorrow. And they're about to close. So they're like, let's give you the sack. The sack was 25 kgs. So when they brought the sack out, on reading it, the cocoa powder was actually from Indonesia. So I remembered the Indians' words. Always try to cut out, in fact, he also added, cut out the middlemen. Because that's where you lose. As you grow bigger, cut out as many of the middlemen as possible. So slowly I started looking for who manufactures my boxes. I shouldn't be buying from a retailer. Let me look for the factory. Yes, you pick up a big chunk of your capital to invest because you're buying a big amount, again, to reduce on your cost, because they're giving you at a better price. Okay? But you need to find ways of cutting out the middlemen. So when I read on this sack, Indonesia, if I've made 13 trips to South Africa, I can go to Indonesia.
You can make one to Indonesia for sure.
As well. I make arrangements, look for the visa, Actually, before I went to Indonesia, I think I went to Dubai. I went to Dubai again to shop for my business, to look for ingredients, cheaper ingredients, because you're seeing them in Chikubo, and clearly they don't originate in Uganda.
True.
So, and you keep hearing people go to Dubai to buy stuff. I hopped on a plane and went. And yes, I saw stuff, really good stuff on sale. I bought stuff. And I think that very huge store that I bought from was selling a certain type of shortening. And they gave me a sample. They are very good at that. Mm-hmm. The Indians trading in Dubai do give samples. Go try this out. I carry it back. I use it to bake cake. One cake, it was a very tasty cake. Very. In fact, we didn't wait for that cake to cool. The moment we pulled it out of the oven, we cut it into pieces and everyone ate soft what? We were really happy.
And you could attribute to the shortening itself?
Yes, okay. Yes, because it was the one thing that we had changed. Okay. Fast forward, I make my first order. This shortening was also from Indonesia. Before I made the first order, I'm like, okay, since the cocoa powder is from Indonesia and the shortening is from Indonesia, let me go to Indonesia and buy these 2 items. Okay? And start bringing them so that I cut out the middleman. So I hop onto the plane with my husband. Of course, at that point, you're like, we can enjoy, we can do the business, but also pleasure. Remember, the plane tickets are not very cheap, but yeah, we can afford to do both. Let's go and enjoy and also do business. So this is what happened. When we reached Indonesia, we went to the cocoa powder factory, very big and impressive, and we made our order, which was supposed to be in the same container as the shortening. No, but I think their law couldn't permit it. But we got someone who put the cocoa powder in a groupage container. That was fine. Now for the shortening, we had to buy a full container. Remember, we've tested, we think we are happy. So we went ahead and paid for the container. But after traveling that long distance, I think we spent our days in Jakarta. I'm told that their capital city has since changed to something else. But anyway, we're in Jakarta and the factory was in a place called Surabaya. And it was supposed to be a whole day's train ride to Surabaya. So these people sat us down and said, one, it's your anniversary week, wedding anniversary. Stay here and enjoy. They put us in a 5-star hotel, prepared for us. Remember, we've paid for a container upfront. So I think most companies, they use part of their money to that money to entertain you, kind of give back to you. We could even have paid a high price. We don't know really. So they entertained us, kept us in Jakarta. We enjoyed, went sightseeing and everything, and came back. The long and short is we did not reach the shortening factory. So we come back to Uganda and wait for our container. It arrived in record time, 2 months it was here. No, you know that's the easiest. Once you fill a container, they quickly get a vessel and it shows up. You don't have, as long as you have the taxes, you clear it, it's very fast. Not the same as when you're sharing space with others. So the container arrives, we clear it, we offload it, we start using the shortening. Day 1. My head chef comes to me.
Don't tell me.
Something is not right. I'm like, it can't be.
Don't tell me.
The cakes were literally falling apart. Like, you bake a cake, it's together. The moment you remove it from the pan, I'm like, you're doing something wrong. Let's mix together.
With my experience.
Let's mix together. We mix. They were crumbling, they were splitting, they just couldn't hold. And we have 1,100 cartons of 25 kilos each. It's over 2 tons.
And you put all your chips in this order.
I remember I even chose a red paper to write down the loans I had to take to bring that container. This is the life of an entrepreneur. Mistakes are part of the journey. So this container cost us about 120 million. That's not money we could really afford comfortably at that point.
Even today, it's a lot of money.
Yes, but the excitement, you're like, let me bake cakes in Kampala. Everyone will talk about that. That was the excitement. You're like, you're going to bring this taste that no one can match. They won't know where we got this margarine from. We're going to beat them hands down. It's called pants down, hands. That was the excitement. The cake started disintegrating. I don't believe it. I'm like, no, let's bake again. No, another trial, same thing.
Open the other sack.
Try another, maybe this box has a problem. I get back to my suppliers. And I want people to understand, when you deal with people whose first language is not English, be very, very, very careful. I get back to them. This thing that you gave us, this is what it's doing. I WhatsApp videos. Wait a minute. What type is that? But that is what you ordered. But wait a minute. That is meant for bread and cookies, not cakes. But the boxes had cakes, bread, and cookies. I think someone had accidentally stamped cakes on those boxes. Everyone makes mistakes. So they're telling me that is meant for bread and cookies. I don't make any of that too. My expertise, I've sunk money in this container. I am in debt. Anyway, I get up. Oh, yes. The product, the baking margarine, that fat was its shelf life was only 1 year. And by the time we discover the mistake, I think we've used up 4 months of the shelf life. So it's going to expire in exactly 8 months. I don't make bread. I started baking cookies. Using up a box of that margarine meant you're baking over thousands of cookies. Yeah. I remember taking those cookies to Namgongo for the Mother's Day celebrations because there are always crowds. People who come to Namgongo come to look for God, Christ. They don't come to eat cookies. They bought very few. I had to bring them back. It was really a trying time. So, as I move around Chikubo trying to look for people to buy my shortening, someone would take maybe 10 boxes. That was a very tiny little fraction of. So one of the shopkeepers said, oh, by the way, you should go try and get to Ntake Bakery. They use shortening. They make bread. They might be able to buy it from you. And this was a high-end product, quite expensive. So I go to Ntake. Of course, seeing the big man was not easy, but somehow I managed to see the daughter. She asked me for a sample, which I readily availed. They tested it and said, oh yeah, this is a very, very good product. So she led me into her father's office.
Held your hand.
Yes. I entered his office. When he looked at me, he said, I remember you at the lab.
Did you remember him?
Yes. I remember you at the lab. Oh yeah, I'm like, yeah. I marketed my cakes to you. So I'm telling him I'm in a very, very serious crisis. I have over 1,000 boxes of this margarine and I'm told you bake a lot of bread. Please, can you buy them from me? So I narrated the story. How did I end up in Indonesia? Then he said, you mean you got onto that plane? It's a long journey,
Yes,
Asia.
yes, it's very far, yes.
Yeah. You got onto that plane, reached your destination, and failed to go to the factory. Yes. I was ashamed, actually. I failed to go to the factory. So he told me next time, when you go to buy anything, he cited his experience. When he goes to buy machinery, he goes to that place, goes back to the hotel, comes back a second time. Sometimes sends for someone from Uganda, another technique. Come, let's look at this thing. You need to be careful. You can't trust people. And when he got onto his computer and I gave him the site of the factory, they showed us that they had 12 different products. That product range had like 12 different. And you only had to choose, what are you producing? Cakes, this is it. For us, we stayed and enjoyed our anniversary and sure that the container will come. Meanwhile, we are missing out on this very important piece of information. So he bought the shortening. I sold it at a loss. And the reason being, I wasn't VAT registered. He couldn't pay me VAT that he wasn't going to claim. And his parting words, I still remember them. He told me that my daughter, I want you to know that when you don't pay taxes, you will not grow. If you're not compliant with all these other statutory obligations, you will not grow. So I want you to always remember that. And he told me, and there's chance for us to grow this business of ours. He was talking about the baking industry. We can grow this thing. Let's do it right, but we need to be compliant. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made that loss. It was a big loss. Yeah, about 20 million maybe. Yeah, so he saved he saved me from, a nosedive. And he paid me very fast. That was very kind of him, because someone else can take the stuff and
take advantage of you very badly.
Yeah, he paid me very fast. It helped me clear some of the loans. The rest, of course, I had to work from the bottom. Yeah, so that was my story. But the story didn't end there. When I was leaving his office, I think the last time I'd picked the last check, I remember he was also walking out of his office. He was going he was like, let me take you to the factory. By then he had started producing flour. I think they import it, process it.
Add value, maybe.
Yes, they add value. And then they had started making cake flour, because they also bake cakes. So he took me to the plant. We didn't really go around per se, but he bought me a sack of flour. He bought me.
That's his contribution for you.
He just bought me a sack of flour and told me, I want you to try out this flour and let me know how it works. When I was happy that he could actually pour money in his own factory and pay for something. That shows you structures.
Yes.
You don't just, everything should be accounted for. So I went, I used the flour. And today, I can happily say we are using that same flour, cake flour, and very happy. And recently, last year, 2024, I had to expand my premises. It was quite some bit of construction, 2-story buildings, 2 blocks. So my husband was handling the construction. He's an engineer, so he kept telling me, oh yeah, today he would update me. Today we are going to the slab. What do they call it? Casting the slab. Yes. So he told me the first time, like, okay, good, let them cast. In fact, usually they do it on Sundays when we're not working.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yes. So I think on the second casting, for some reason, I'm like, okay, we're approaching the site from the back of the bakery. I had to use another road. I'm like, let me go and check it out, So when I get to the site, we had mixed concrete mixture. Yeah, he had brought in concrete mixture, so that it's all happening fast and uniform and everything. So when I get to this huge vehicle that is delivering the mixture, the men who were manning this vehicle were wearing overcoats that had Take group on them. Yes, Take group on them. I was so excited. I pulled out my phone and recorded. And I ran this story on my TikTok page, citing how Mr. Gasta Lule helped me. Really, at that point, I think my business would have ended if I hadn't gotten him to buy that stuff. So he helped me, gave me a sack of flour. I continue using his flour. And now to my shop, I'm also using his concrete mixture. So I posted the story. I think the incident of the shortening happened about 8 years ago. Yes, 8 years ago actually. And I never saw him since, but I continued buying his flour. So when I post this video went viral. The video went viral. It was shared over 3,000 times. And he says he received it about 30 times from 30 different people. Wow. Look what you did for this lady. and she's now buying your concrete mix. And he came and visited. Even that video went viral. It was just so nice to know that in life, you never know. Because when he was helping me, he probably didn't realize that I would also become his customer. See? So what goes around comes around. So all these are wonderful, they're experiences that we learn from, that everyone matters. Remember, we started from the food lab where I was asking him to buy my cakes. I don't remember whether he bought, I think he bought. And then I come to him, I have a problem, then he buys the shortening.
You raise a very good point, actually. I'm sorry for cutting you short.
Yes.
He told you, go to the source and ensure yourself that it is exactly what you're looking for.
Yes.
And that was his caution for you, for your trip to Indonesia.
And compliance.
And compliance.
Yes.
And when you think back now, he also came to the food lab himself.
Yes.
To do the testing of the flour, to make sure everything is okay himself.
True.
So you can see that it is something that is running in his blood across everything.
Yes.
Hence also his success as well.
Yes. In fact, he's really into manufacturing now. And the story gets even better. He's now started manufacturing shortening.
He took this. He took the samples, took the food science, put it together.
Yes.
Saving people trips.
Yes. He is manufacturing the shortening.
That's nice.
In fact, I need to check on that shortening.
And see how it is.
Yes.
Speaking of people not, continuing to do something, you mentioned that at the beginning, you sold cake to the current Katikiro of Buganda.
Yes.
Does he still buy from you? Have you sold to him or since?
I'm not aware that is buying from me, but the Kingdom of Buganda is buying from me. Yes. By then he was in the Katikiro.
Yes.
That's why he was dropping his children in a surf.
Himself. No escort.
So we should all trust the process. Everyone who's up there was once down. Yeah.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Trust the process.
Does he remember this himself?
I'm not sure.
Oh, wow.
But I am going to see him very soon because I'll be serving His Highness, the Kabaka, once again.
Yes.
I will take time and ask if I get a chance. Yeah.
I'd love to know. Love to know. Okay. So I like this story. I am really, really happy to hear this and impressed. Let me talk about the current status of Bake For Me right now. If you can share some numbers with us for people to understand scope. Okay, fine, we know in the industry you're number one in the country, in the market, that's fine. But for someone to understand how big something can grow from those levels to where we are. So they know kind of a trajectory of if you put your all in it, what is the potential, right?
Okay.
Some numbers, maybe, I don't know what numbers you want to share.
Today, Bake For Me is 82 full-time employees strong and a few others on part-time basis. We have 5 outlets at Kololo. There's another one at Bunga, at Nalia, at Nakulabye, and at Kajansi. In fact, when you look at those areas, you realize that we've tried to cover every major road that's coming into the city. But our aim is to try and make it easy for people who live on that side of town. Why should someone come from Wachiso all the way to Kololo to pick a cake? Make it easier for them, put it somewhere along that road. So that's our model, and it has worked perfectly so far. We bake so many cakes, over 1,000 in a week on order.
Wow.
Yeah, many times our demand is greater than what we can supply, and we are thankful to God for that. I'm told that a business takes up the character of the owner.
True.
Usually.
True.
So I am someone who is generally generous, I've been told. So that has played a pivotal part in the customer base that we enjoy. We are quite generous with our servings, so with our sizes.
Of the cakes.
Of the cakes, yes. So that's one thing that, I think can enable us do so many of them, because we try and make them affordable. We try, well, at least more affordable than the other players in the market. So that has been one of the biggest reasons why we're enjoying a very huge chunk of the market share in Kampala. We have plans of expanding outside Kampala, but you have to first get the systems right here before you can venture into doing it in other districts. From the bakery, and also due to overwhelming demand, we had very many people asking us to teach them how to bake. Can I come and learn? You have parents who are ready to pay salaries for their daughters to come and learn so that they can also, So we decided, why not? Even if we don't do it, someone else will do it. So why not enjoy that extra income stream? So in 2019, we opened doors to our baking school, and we've never gone without students. Yeah, many times we have more students than we can handle, and we ask them to come the following month. We train people, whoever wants to learn how to bake, for 1 month. You start at the beginning of the month and end at the end of the month. Yeah, so we teach them. We don't charge too much. We'll be charging more, but it's because we are really thankful for how this business has turned out, and we feel we should be giving back in a way. Giving back to the community by offering this service at a subsidized rate. And we also give after-sales services free of charge. As long as it doesn't tell me to physically come to your bakery, if you can ask me those questions on WhatsApp, we are happy to help you for free, yeah? That, maybe if someone is making a mistake, we are correcting you, and that you can have for as long as you please. So the school has also registered so much success. and the most recent being able to attract donor funding. Yeah, that honestly, I never imagined would ever happen. In my wildest dreams, it wasn't, in my roadmap. So that has been a very exciting surprise.
This is the World Bank thing you talked
Yes,
about?
the World Bank that I was talking about, Grow Funds. Grow is a project that was started by the World Bank to empower women, to help us grow our business, just like it says grow our businesses, and also to pick those who are disadvantaged women, So once someone is able to pick up a skill and they are willing, World Bank foots that bill, and if this is successful, the next phase will be to help them actually start the business by some financing, free financing grants, so that people don't have to pay them back. Okay, it's in I think there are 5 different aspects. There are some who got grants, and those are mainly, I think, working on refugees. Skilling refugees so that they can be self-sustaining. Then there are bank loans at a very low interest rate. Then there's this apprenticeship program, which we're also going to benefit from. We will be having people come and learning. And then we also bring them into the bakery to learn more through experience, and then we can let them out. I don't remember the 4th and 5th, but yes, there are business development services for people who want to improve structures, systems, even that they are giving free of charge. They pay consultants, and it's up to me. As long as my business, the percentage shareholding is for a woman, owned by a woman, World Bank is happy to help that business grow. So that has been, it was such a wonderful year when we were shortlisted last year. So we are looking forward to running that project. So basically that's where Bake For Me is. We also preach compliance from the minister.
You learned.
We learned, yes. And true, it comes with a lot of good things. When you're compliant, one, you cannot shy away from any bid. You can even go way outside your scope. Because some of these things, it's as simple as this company needs t-shirts of this quality. If you feel you can get them from abroad, you bid, you quote. If you get a yes, and again, this government has really tried to be nice to women. Really, I should commend them. When they sat down and looked at the procurement statistics in government, they realized that women were only supplying 1% of government business. Yes. Wow. So now their intention on pushing that number up to 15%. So they're reaching out to us.
Yes.
Really, things are almost on a silver platter as long as you are compliant. So I keep telling whoever I get a chance to meet, once your business is woman-owned, or at least 51% of the shares belong to you and not your husband, you qualify to enjoy these benefits, okay? You qualify. So you simply have to register with PPDA, and then you start getting all these opportunities. And I want to believe that when whoever gets to choose is faced with a woman-owned business and a man-owned business, I think the priority will be given to the ladies so that they can push that percentage at least up to 15%, and then eventually, hopefully, 30%. So it's a good thing. So that's why I'm saying, let's be compliant. At least be 50% compliant. So once you enjoy the fruits, then you keep increasing to 60. But These statutory obligations, they are very easy, by the way. Some of us shy away, but it's very easy to get this paperwork right. And most of these entities have made it smooth because it's online. You know, get your certificate of registration, get a TIN, pay your taxes, apply for tax clearance certificates. Whenever there's a bid opportunity, just attach all these things and you're good to go, you know. Pay your NSSF for the workers. It's really, he was right. I can attest to it. Mr. Gasta Lule was right. Compliance equals profitability. It does. It equals profitability.
The World Bank thing, the way you described it, it shows that you're very moved by it and you felt, I would say, vindicated kind of, or accomplished in that moment. Have you had others like that in your career that you can look at that moment and say, when this happened, I felt accomplished in that moment?
There's one coming up. I was nominated to receive a medal from His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda.
No way.
Yes, way. On 8th March, I expect to receive a medal. Apparently, for your services to the nation, for what? For uplifting other women.
You're even blushing.
Yes, I am. So it kind of feels a bit awkward to talk about it when it hasn't yet happened, but it's about to happen.
You see, it doesn't matter that it hasn't yet happened. Do you know that people celebrate being shortlisted on a job application?
Yes.
Just to be shortlisted, you get nominated? That's number one. Do you know that when they're giving Oscars and all these things, people are nominated and they celebrate the nomination?
Yes.
You should be celebrating the nomination because in this moment, that is the achievement.
Yes.
Do you know people who have been nominated? Do you have friends who have been nominated that you can say these two were nominated also? Let's talk about that because that, to me, is a success alone.
A big one.
March 8th or 18th?
8th, I think.
8th?
Women's Day. Well, being Kyankwanzi. So I was telling my mom, when we were joking, I tell her, my other name is Narogwa. Unange mami na. Then my mom said, Naruwawe. So yeah. Amazing, actually. Unbelievable.
I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that is nice.
Yeah.
That is nice. So someone was in a room where you were not, and they said that this woman deserves this.
Yes.
Really, what did she do? She deserves this. Put her on the list.
And actually, I think, minus all the others, but you visit my TikTok page, I teach, and in Luganda. Why? I was advised, a bit of English, but I was advised that Luganda really, people feel very marginalized when the things are in English, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, every social media handle has its target audience.
Yes.
Now, TikTok happens to really, really grab the attention of Luganda speakers. So it ends up shooting your numbers so high following. I mean, that's important also. You following, but once you do it in English, you know. So I have a feeling even that could be part of the reason why, you know. In fact, I was even nominated Woman of the Year. Anyway, I don't know where that ended, but yes. So I was happy, yes. And now that you're talking about it, it's true. When you celebrate nominations.
Yes.
So that also put me kind of in a different light. Yeah.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand.
Let me ask maybe a unique question. If you see all the orders that you've had from beginning up to today, what would you say has been your most unique or outstanding, challenging order that you've received?
Wow, that's easy to answer. The most challenging order that we've had to make was the wedding cake of His Royal Highness, the Kyabazinga of Busoga. Yeah, one, the fact that we were chosen was a shock. It was a surprise, it was a big surprise. I didn't do anything to get that order.
You just received the phone call?
Yes, we were chosen. Bake for Me was chosen to make that cake. Now that in itself was a win.
Yes.
You know, I was informed a year to the event. I'll be honest, I didn't really believe it. A bit of me felt that maybe this isn't really true, or things might change along the way. It's funny how we look down at ourselves and yet other people, are looking up at you. Interesting. Well, anyway, so I got to know a year to that wedding. Well, I thought about it, made plans, but I didn't receive a payment until possibly maybe 6 months to the wedding. Yeah. So that's when I really felt that now this is serious. Yes, because the mileage that the business gets from such a high profile function is unmatchable. I mean, we've done other high profile functions, but this has been the best, really. There's one coming up. I unfortunately I can't talk about it because it hasn't yet happened. But that it's got the best memories. I mean, I had to go to 3 countries to shop for that cake. We had to sit down, plan it. The king wanted to see a 3D impression of that cake, something I'd never done. I had to look for people to do that and present it. But it was a very exciting day. When I remember, I would pray every day that nothing goes wrong.
True.
And nothing went wrong. That cake was over 200 kilograms heavy. Yes.
Wow.
It was over 200 kilograms heavy. But it sat on that table. It was about maybe 2.5 meters high.
Wow.
Then you're toying with gravity.
Yes.
And you have the tiers, they start off with a wide diameter and then they keep on reducing until the top. I really saw the hand of God in everything that we did. Yeah, it was the best order we've executed. I mean, we've never paid so much attention to detail like we did. And then the publicity all over the world. And whoever got to know that we made the cake, even people I hadn't heard from in years, hit my inbox.
Wow.
It was really awesome. And we've never looked back since then. We've been on the upward trend since, yes. So several lessons to learn from that sometimes it's not even about the money. Yes. You might, as a business owner, you should be able to make a quick decision whether it is very important for you to charge that item to the last dollar or shilling. And yet, the good that you're going to get out of executing that service outnumbers, is too much more than, what you're claiming. So there are people who've turned down orders because of cost of what the person is offering. And sometimes the person is very genuine. This is what I have. But it is something unique that a business owner must have. it's that X factor that will tell you that support this charity and not that. Run this video on your socials, leave this one out. You know, you just have to know. So this was one of those things. Actually, I would say maybe it was my fault. Initially, when I was determining the price, I didn't think about the 3 plane tickets that I had to buy for that particular order, okay? But again, I've done more than what I need for that cake. When I go to a particular country, I don't only shop for that cake, I'm shopping for others, you know? So we need to learn to stop being petty sometimes, yeah? I'll charge you every tiny little thing, even the time I spend thinking about your cake. Oh no, come on, yeah? Growth doesn't come from being mean and being very strict, yeah? Sometimes you have to loosen up. So it's one of the very good lessons that I picked from that experience. We had to move that cake in a couple of cars, including a very huge truck, a truck that had never carried something. It was ours, but it had never carried something that delicate. But we took that cake to Ginger in one piece to the palace, not even a crack, not one. And yet we've carried smaller cakes and we've got problems before. So when I think about all that, I'm like, wow, I really saw the goodness of God. I really felt that we were chosen, and for a good reason. My team, awesome. Of course, when you share the mission, the goal, and
you tell them, put it on the table.
We've been chosen. We need to put our best foot forward. You should be able to tell your team that, and they should be very quick to digest it and up their game. Yeah, so we worked as a team, came up with a design, presented it. The first design we presented is what was approved, interestingly. We didn't have to go back, change this. No, it was approved.
They really trusted you.
Yes, they did.
They really did. They even didn't have design elements. I thought about that.
No, it was approved.
And they trusted you even to make the cake at your premises and bring it here, because I would think you would have transported your own equipment to the kingdom and do it from there.
That's the worst thing that can never happen to anyone in this service industry, that go and make a cake at a foreign premise. No, it's terrible. I mean, there are so many tiny little things that are in arm's length, you know, at your premise, and then having to move. So, and remember, that's not all that you're doing that day. And you have other clients who you're not going to turn down just because you have this particular order. Yes, some you might. We turned down a few, especially those that were far away, because we had to make sure all our transport resources were concentrated on this, making sure this cake delivery reached its venue. Yeah, so asking someone to work at a different premise is really not good. Yeah, it's maybe it depends on what they are doing, but had we been asked to do it from there, I think would have had a very big challenge. And it took us 2 weeks
to make.
Yes.
Wow.
2. We started 2 weeks too.
Wow.
In fact, more than that, because like the sugar flowers, we started a month to the function, because it was very big. You have to cover a very big, surface area, so we had to make so many flowers. Then my trips, the trips, the trips, but it was all worth it.
Did you get feedback from the kingdom?
Yes.
From the king himself?
The queen.
The queen?
Yes.
She called you?
I got the feedback somehow.
What did they say?
We had this video that we released on the morning of the wedding. We captured it the day before as we left the bakery with all the cars in a line heading to Ginger, convoy, yes. And up to the point when we arrived at the Kingdom Gate. Now, I posted it in the morning at 9 a.m. It went viral immediately. So she got to watch it. Yeah, she liked it. I don't know at what point. I don't know at what point she watched it, but it was actually talked about at the venue. Yeah, so business, social media is very interesting, and as a business owner, you need to learn to embrace the trends as they come in whatever aspect. Is the way you advertise, what you're pushing out, as in your recipes, everything. You need to learn to embrace. Because, to have that video talked about at the venue, when it was time to cut the cake, it was announced. Now, the moment has come for us to enjoy the cake that was brought here in 5 cars and in a very huge truck. It was awesome. Hadn't the video gone out when it did, So in business, there's so much to learn every day.
You're taking advantage of social media, clearly.
Yes, and it worked. It worked so perfectly. We had the guy editing that video overnight. In the morning, it was ready for release. So by the time we're out there, people were aware that Bake For Me was at that venue. Yes. Yeah.
And at that point, anything to do with the kingdom is trending. People are looking for information. They want to know who is getting married. Yes. They want to know.
Yes.
Wow, that is nice.
Usually when there are big weddings happening in Kampala, that's, but this one was it was a wedding of the year.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Wow. Look at you from walking on the street, head down, dejected.
Fired.
Fired.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
It was such a glorious day. If I had to do it all over again, there are many things I wouldn't change. Yeah. I was really happy and satisfied.
True.
That we've put our best foot forward and people have liked what they saw.
I'm seeing the reason why you're getting this medal coming up. The reasons are many.
Yes.
I really like this. Do you find that the cake preferences that people have are changing? Are they more or less the same? What do you think?
Now, food is interesting. Yes and no. Is that a good answer? Maybe let me unpack it. It depends on who you're serving. Now, at Bake For Me, we chose to serve a very wide range of clients. In fact, the one category of people that we're not serving yet are the people who need healthy options. And that is our next assignment. Target, yes. Other than that, we try to serve as many people as possible. And even our price ranges reflect. We'll serve anyone who can afford our least priced cake, which is 70,000 shillings. Oh, we actually also have cupcakes, which are as low as 30,000, really. Yeah? So we shall serve people from as low as 70,000 to as high as 50 million shillings. Okay, so far that's the highest that someone has had to pay for a cake. Okay? So in between, there's just so much room. Because at the end of the day, I believe money is money. Again, maybe out of humility, I rarely turn down orders unless it is way below us to make even a tiny profit margin. But that's the model I chose. I don't turn down orders. As long as someone is ready to pay what we have, asked for, we are good. Oh, but we do turn down. As a Christian, there are certain things I don't like to see in my bakery. Anything that borders on being obscene. No, that we turn down. Yes, that we turn down. But the rest, really, we try. And I think it's one of the reasons that have helped us build a customer base, a very solid customer base. If you're high end, we'll serve you and you will make you satisfied. For those who can afford a little low, and sometimes there are seasons, by the way, and I would like business people to understand that the person who's wealthy today was once broke.
True.
So when you tailor your product to only serve the upper class, you're forgetting the people that you can grow with. Yeah, you can grow with. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that you charge less than you should, but make room for them. It's cake, really. If you can make a very big cake, you can make a small one. Just give them the small one. Next time, they'll order a big one. So that model has really worked for me. Yeah, that's why I can serve the Kyabazinga of Busoga, serve MPs, ministers, other kings, people from South Sudan, from Western Uganda, from the North, and also serve this person who can only afford, 70,000 shillings. And they're all happy. Yeah. So.
Are you being invited to many parties on the weekend? Come and enjoy this party because your cake is there.
Well, yeah, some yes, but I don't attend that many parties. But once in a while I do. It depends on, because we're busiest over the weekend.
True.
Yes, I've built structures. I'm thankful for that. Work can continue even in my absence. But at times there's that feeling of I must be personally present. It does magic to your team, by the way.
True.
It
when
does.
you're in the gutters with them,
Yes.
in the trenches.
Yeah.
In terms of spreading your customer base and serving a wide range, do you deal with the diaspora clients?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And again, I would say that, social media presence, consistent social media presence is very, very important. So yeah, we get lots of diaspora clients who are looking to omit involvement of their family members, sadly, for them, I don't know for who now. Maybe good for the person who's actually paying, because they've been let down. So we get many of those, and yes, we manage. We agree. The person shows up 2 weeks to their wedding, and we are ready to do the cake testing, and then we make the cake. So we do. Then we also send cakes, usually accompanied. Okay. Yeah. So what I was telling you at the start is people are interesting, because you'll ask me, have the trends changed, the flavors? You find someone in the diaspora who has access to cake, ordering for cake from Uganda. So there are reasons behind it. They want to get that taste, that
authentic,
our traditional fruit cake that they might not get the other side. I've attempted to bake outside Uganda, but I think even the GMOs in a way affect the way the product tastes and appears. It goes to my shock. I'm like, how can eggs be the same exact size? All eggs on a tray? That doesn't happen here where we're doing organic stuff, But you'll also get that in the taste,
True.
Yeah, when there's been a lot of processing and genetically engineered stuff, and it doesn't exactly taste like what we have here. So we have those that want to stick to the traditional, the old original taste. Then there are others. But again, as a business owner, you need to come to that point, like that equilibrium line where you're making as many people happy, as many people as possible happy. Otherwise, if you're being swayed to every trend that is showing up. Deco is different. Of course, the decoration is the icing on the cake.
Right,
It's the first thing that will make someone happy. But then when it comes to the taste, my advice is it has worked for me. I try to stick to
what works.
What works, exactly. Otherwise, all sorts of cakes show up. And when you're easily swayed to whatever is on the market, sometimes, e.g., there's a time we had Chinese eggs. These are not laid by chicken. They are made. We had Chinese eggs on the market. I never tried them, but okay, let me give something that I tried. I encountered this gentleman who had a very brilliant idea. He would give you eggs without shells, like they've been
cracked, and then he gives you the yolk inside.
Yes. Sometimes he would even separate. This gentleman would give you liquid eggs.
Yes. The yolk separate, the white separate.
Sometimes yolk with the albumin, whatever you choose, or yolk alone and then the egg white. And there were eggs that are laid by chicken and is just reducing your workload and waste probably. But I don't know what it was about the eggs. When we put them in our cakes, the cakes were very light. Like, the weight of a cake matters. And we're doing the same recipe, but it just, and our customers fail to like the product. So I like to stick to the norm. I want to call it the norm. The bake for me normal, bake for me cake. Yeah. It reduces on the surprises, the shocks. Because when you toy around with your customers, you never know. When you're trying out so much all the time, and yet they haven't rejected your current product. They're very happy with it. They're buying it. You're getting more customers every day. New customers.
Yes.
So why are you trying to, move all over the place looking for something new? And when someone is selling to you, they will really, really try to convince you you're going to spend less, you'll reduce on this, so it makes business sense, but the customer, the buck stops with the customer. They need to be happy.
True.
Yes. Sometimes it's not about you saving money. No. Let them, in fact, clients are like, the money is not the problem. What I want is your cake, that taste. So you'd better stick to that.
True.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you my last question. I will not hold you back from cake lovers, countrywide, right? Yes. Worldwide. In terms of the future for Bake For Me, what are you thinking about, and what advice would you give to a person thinking of starting a cake business?
In terms of the future, we're thinking more about the school right now. How can we also make it expand into, more than one location that it's in right now? The bakery, there's a lot of room for expansion, a lot of room. I would like to have more outlets, probably triple the number that we have right now. There are areas that are screaming, we need you here, really. And I know if we went there, we would hit the ground running. So those plans are in the pipeline. And eventually also expand regionally. So that we have less of cars moving to these different places. There are some regions that have demonstrated that once we are there, because we are taking some of our products to this. So if we are baking in those regions, it might be good for us. So of course we study. It has to make business sense. Yeah. Usually starting up another bakery in another place means supervision, means so much. But with proper planning, nothing is impossible. Yeah.
That's good. And the advice?
Advice too?
There are people who want to start their business.
Businesses.
Is the market there? Should they be worried?
advice to the people who want to start a baking business, I'll borrow words from a tutor that I went to in South Africa. An old lady, about 80, she taught me how to make sugar flowers. And as I sat with her, I'm like, how are you able to share your skill? You know, by then I wasn't sharing, I wasn't teaching. How are you comfortable sharing your skill with others? And in her words, she said, there is so much space under the sky for all of us. I remember when I was in school, I think our population was at 30 million. Today we are 45, almost 46 million in Uganda. So really, there's room under the sky. You just have to be creative. How are you going to penetrate the market? You need to have a plan, a strategy, okay? And you also need to be patient. I mean, we are talking 20 years of hard work, of learning, of failing and getting up.
Yes.
Yeah, so whoever wants to start, I welcome you. Don't be afraid. This market is not yet super saturated. Because bake for me, for example, I've shared already that we get to points very often where we can't satisfy our demand. That means there are people that need to be tapped. There are so many people out there who can still buy cakes. You just need to know how are you going to reach out to them. Yeah, so don't fail to try. And there's also another interesting aspect. You might start with a business, but what God has in store for you, this is just a stepping stone. Even that can happen. There are many people who are in businesses which they didn't start there, but are in there right now. I know of someone who's running a very big furniture store in Uganda who started as a baker. So her destiny was in that store, but...
I'm sorry, I have to cut you short. This YouTube as a platform,
yes,
when it was founded, it started as a dating site.
See?
In a university in California, as a dating site. The goal was to get students to put their pictures so that others can see and they link up, right?
Yes.
It did not work. So the people who designed YouTube started offering $20 to whoever will put their picture up.
Wow.
They still didn't do it.
Oh.
But they observed that people were recording videos and putting their
Not
ordinary
pictures.
their ordinary day videos. And I said, wait, maybe this is what is working. So they switched to what it is today.
Yes.
To your point, from baker to the furniture.
Baking might not be your destiny, but it might be your stepping stone to something even better, okay? Or bigger, you know? So don't fail to try. For me, I just keep saying, don't fail to try. Yeah? Give it a try. And I mean, some of us, like I said, kind of started accidentally. True. But here we are today. And now it actually feels like a divine assignment. Someone has told me that before. You cannot be reckless with what God has given you. Because you're thinking about all these families that the bakery is supporting. So I can't wake up, pick money from the company account and buy myself a very fancy ride. And I'm like, the employees will wait for 2 months. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay? Yeah, so try, just start. And start with a little that you have. 25,000 shillings. Even today, my daughter gets pocket money that can start a bake for me. She does. She does, yes. She gets more than 25,000 shillings. I mean, it's the, you know. But it's possible. It's the willing heart, the heart that is ready to fight, to survive, to float, and then you start climbing the ladder. So everyone should be able to take that risk and not to give up. If I sat down to tell you about the challenges, I know I've mentioned the wrong container, the wrong product in that container. That's just one of them. But there are challenges. But 4, 6 times, get up 7. Get up more times. Okay? Yeah. Businesses. And people have such brilliant ideas. You know, just start that business. It doesn't have to be baking, but start that business. Yeah.
Brenda, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
It has really been enlightening, very exciting. I've enjoyed it. I mean, it was good when you were recommended, but after listening to what you had to share, I'm really touched and moved. Thank you for the work that you're doing. We wish you continued growth, success, more things to shock you even, right? Yeah. And overall growth in everything that you touch.
Amen. Amen to that.